All right, we got a big draft. They're all big, but this one feels a little bit bigger for different reasons. I'm seeing some really good content providers talking about maybe a big time player gets traded for the draft. I think they're kind of hinting at Ramsey. I don't know. I know Hill's just, it's not happening. But if we did trade a big time player, what is that really saying? You get Will Johnson, you can move off Ramsey and get a nice pick, and maybe something good can happen in that second round, because that's probably what you get from a second, late, or maybe third, conditional to a second, something. I don't know. But I want to get into this draft. Obviously, who we pick, it's huge. But because we've seen how we've drafted over the years, and there's talk about Chris Grier, maybe he's on the outs. Really credible guys like Alf are saying that. Maybe with Champ Kelly coming in and Brandon Shaw kind of chiming in saying, I'm putting the brakes on, maybe Grier is being freezed out. If that's the case, the next logical person to be in charge would be Marvin Allen. And I've had some Rick Long, a viewer, sent me some real great information on this. Actually, kind of created the idea for this podcast. And then again, Alf talked about Marvin Allen's history. So I want to go over his history and what that means and what he was in all these different positions to kind of say, hey, you know what? We might get lucky and have Grier be frozen out, and maybe Marvin Allen is going to have a phenomenal draft if he's in charge. But I wouldn't say it's 100%. Clearly, it would be better. Blind, retarded monkey high on mescaline probably would draft better than Chris Grier. I think random choices actually might do better, but we'll see. So I'm going to get into Marvin Allen. So he was with the Kansas City Chiefs, and then he went to the Bills, and he was a national scout with the Bills, and he was head of college scouting with the Chiefs. Now, head of college scouting, that's the guy right below the GM, and he's got a huge amount of influence. National scout has a lot of influence, and I'll get into exactly what that responsibility is. So when we go over it, you'll understand what he was doing. So a national scout is a NFL player. It plays a big role in helping teams find and evaluate talent, especially for the NFL draft. Think of them as one of the top tier evaluators in scouting hierarchy. So they're usually right below the director of college scouting, but you have a bunch of national scouts, okay? So when he was which Kansas City Chiefs, he was the director. He's the only one, and he's the head. So he took a little bit of a step down. Don't know exactly why. I'd like to find out why he moved to the Bills and took a step down. So the key responsibilities, player evaluations across all regions, cross-checking area scouts. So he's kind of like the proofer of the guys that go to the different colleges. So you got one guy who's, guys that's in charge of Georgia and Michigan, and then he proofs them, which is nice because that's an important role as far as taking the evaluations underneath you and then making sure they're the good ones and then passing up to the director of college scouting, which eventually gets to the coaches and the GM. National Draft Board input, which is very nice. Communication with the front office. That's serious. Area scouts do, but not to the same level. And identifying hidden gems. And that's going to be critical for us. We keep talking about we got to get an offensive lineman in the first round or second round. And it is important. A lot of the good teams, I'm going to get into it a little bit later, they do find these guys in the first round. But the key is those middle rounds. Teams that are really good with their offensive line, they're really good with their program, they find guys in the middle rounds. And that's what we need to do. That's what we don't do. We suck in the middle rounds. We occasionally find a guy like Van Ginkel, but for the most part, we don't. We've done hit and miss on the first round. People will talk about Tunsil, but anybody could have picked that one. Minka Fitzpatrick, there might have been better choices, but anybody could hit that one. But there is a tendency to find some guys like a Robert Hunt in the second round and guys in the first round, Chop and Phillips, although Phillips has been injured. But it's these middle rounds. And Marvin Allen, you're going to see his input was pretty darn good. We'll start off with KC, okay? So he was there from 2013 to 2016. 2013, you see here, you found Eric Fisher and Travis Kelce, first and third. They were missing their second. Didn't really hit much on anything else after that. I mean, a few guys that played a little bit of action. But if you come out of a draft with Travis Kelce and Eric Fisher, who played a big role for them and their success, and they won a Super Bowl, that's not a bad start. 2014, D Ford, it was there to 2021. He had 2 excellent seasons, and he was kind of pedestrian. First round pick, 23 overall. That's not a terrible hit. It's not optimal. Gaines he missed on, Thomas, Murray in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But Zach Fulton and Laurent Tardif, they were around for a little bit, and they had production. This is not an overall great draft. The prior year of 2013 was better. But then you're going to see some pretty excellent drafts. And it might have taken him a little bit to kind of figure things out. It's always a growth period. 2015, Marcus Peters, Mitch Morris. He's playing, or was playing with the Bills. Chris Connolly, wide receiver. Not great. So, but the wave, you can check on the side over there, WAV, and you can see that overall, their career grades. So even Steven Nelson, a cornerback, at the 23, he had production. And then Raheem Roches, all these guys produced except for your 5th, 2 fifths, and 7th. 7th didn't play at all. A little bit of production from your 5ths. But overall, Marcus Peters, Mitch Morris, Connolly, Nelson, and Roches is not a bad draft. But then you get to 2016, and you got Chris Jones in the second round. Not a lot of picks, because they kind of really didn't have a lot of ammo except for the 2015. Not so good with his 3rd and 4th. Eric Murray playing to 24 has had production. Demarcus Robinson has had some production. And Tyreek Hill. So if you take these back-to-back drafts, you've got a Hall of Famer in Jones, jerk, but Hall of Famer in Tyreek Hill, Marcus Peters, stud, and Mitch Morris is a quality player and a bunch of guys that produced. So then he left and he went to the Bills as a national scout for 2 years. So look at this one. Tre'Davious White, Zay Jones, Deion Dawkins, Matt Milano. 3 of those guys are studs. That's a nail. And everybody kind of contributed something. And then you go to 2018. Josh Allen. Now, Alf had told me that he was a big mover for Mahomes. But he wasn't there when they drafted Mahomes. But I'm sure he had been scouting him and maybe a little bit of that flowed up. So I don't know if he saw the evaluations of Kansas City with Mahomes and said, oh, I like that, and went with Allen, or where he was a prime mover for Mahomes in Kansas City. Either way, he played a part in both these quarterbacks, clearly a huge one, a bigger one with Jones. But then he got Tremaine Edmonds, very good pick, although it didn't meet up to his potential, 2 firsts. Harrison Phillips had production. Still playing Tyron Johnson, one of the best in the league. Syria Neal, not a bad, excellent special team in your 5th round. Wyatt Teller, who they didn't stick with, who became a phenomenal offensive lineman, but with the Browns. So these are really, really good drafts. How much did he play a part? I don't know. But I know he played a part. And that record you see there is better than almost all of our drafts. Now, the downside is in 2019, he came here, he became assistant GM, which is huge. And we haven't drafted well. We've drafted terrible. But what part did he play? Was he not? Was he dismissed? Was he saying, this is the guy I like? Then Greer and whoever the coaches were went in another direction. I don't know. You had Charles Harris over Watt. You had Josh Rosen, Dieter. We know the draft picks. So it's hard to say, but when you line up all those drafts with Kansas City and then the Bills, and then you line up the next batch with the Dolphins, it's a stark difference. So obviously he was the biggest piece he had been in all that time with the Dolphins, but he was strapped with the absolutely idiotic and moronic Chris Greer. And he had crazy-eyed Gase. So where does he fit in? What role on a negative side did he play? Clearly he had some positivity before that. So I don't know. I don't know if he's taken over. I don't know if Greer's still in charge. Greer could be here till kingdom come. Who knows? There's a lot of talk about us really revamping everything. And there is some credence to it, because for sure to come in and lock it down, that says something. But will Allen take over? Will he do good if he does take over? I don't know. We'll see. But how they draft, if you go look at Greer's drafts, he's got an MO. He's got a style. He's got a way of doing things. He's the pencil pusher corporate guy, and Marvin Allen's the running back, the semi-grunt, half-business guy. We'll see. If we see a totally different style and philosophy in this draft, maybe Allen is now taking over and Greer will be out. You can tell by who we're picking and the types of players we pick. He did pretty good in those mid-rounds for the offensive line. So let's see how it plays out. I think the players picked is obviously the most critical, but this philosophy will tell us a lot about our direction, and maybe, prayerfully, we're flipping the script, going on with new leadership, and hopefully, maybe things will change. Yeah, I know we got Ross. Yeah, I know the deal. But we've got to wait and see. Anything's possible. Marvin Allen has a great track record with other teams. Let's hope some of that comes here. Anyway, don't forget, I got a live tonight on Monday night. Come check us out. 7:45. We're going to kind of go over some of this stuff and more with the guys and with you. So, Curtis saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis out. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.